Welcome everybody, welcome back to my site, the Tomb of Illumination. Today's video is about this character here, Ptolemy. Not Ptolemy, Ptolemy. We break this Ptolemy down, the word here. See, a lot of these ancient Greeks were ancient philosophers, and they knew a lot. And I had all my faith in this guy, and it turns out he hasn't got it right either. So this is a world first as to how the motions of the planets actually work. The first time in history. You compare it with Aristarchus or Ptolemy, any character who thought Earth was at the center or the sun was at the center. Check them all out. But it's never been broken down, described properly, as it will be in this video. Could be a little series because there's a lot of information to go through for everyone to get their head around it. Okay? So with Ptolemy, you break it down, it's all about sound, right? Our whole realm is from sound. Ptolemy, to seek. Olome, a higher learning. To seek a higher learning. And this is what all the ancient philosophers, because they're all the illuminated ones, are basically on about. It's being on a higher a frequency, a higher understanding, higher mind. And this is what baffles me, because I thought he would have had it right, but no, he hasn't. So we're going to go over his model, and I'm going to show you how it all falls apart. So this is the ecliptic plane. See, in the flat Earth model, you might want to check out my earlier videos because I can't fit everything on the board here. This is the center Arctic. And we live in this realm from the north to the south. So imagine it's round like this, looking down on as a plan. You know, you got Antarctica all the way around out here. And this is where I lose flat earthers globe earthers straight away, because they don't understand anything. So as soon as you say that, they go, duh, and they've lost it. Totally ignorant of the truth. So the south is all the way around here. And the north is center up here, center Arctic, which is here, the center Arctic. So in here is hidden the central vortex of creation. We can't get in there. It's where the black hole is, it's the vacuum of space, if you want to call it that. But we exist in this part here, and we can't get out. And there's two sides to it. So this is a slice through the middle. Okay? So you've got the northern hemisphere to the Tropic of Cancer, and you've got the southern hemisphere up to the Tropic of Capricorn. Okay? So this is the 2D ecliptic plane where everything came from. The 3D below it came after the 2D plane. Okay? So imagine the 2D plane's up here, and that is the northern hemisphere night sky. All the celestial bodies move around its center. Polaris, but Polaris is offset. It's not in the dead center, it's offset. And Polaris is the star nighttime image of the sun, one of them, from this position. And we see Polaris does a small rotation, right? The sun's facing this way during the day, not that way. So anyway, back to Ptolemy's model here. So he's got all the concentric circles, right? So they want to keep it basic, it is concentric, but then they start going off into all these weird motions to try and explain the ellipses. Okay? So what's he got here? He's got Saturn out here, Jupiter, Mars, then he puts the sun here. Then Mercury, because the Mercury is close to the sun, and then Venus. And they put the Earth in here. Well, this is wrong to start with. The sun In reality, that is the black hole center. Black hole center. Earth is down here. All the celestial bodies up in the sky are up here. We're down here on the Earth. And it's all within the one realm. It's all in our closed system. It's an enclosed system. You can't get out. And its creation comes out of its center. Okay? And the center down there, is the center of the 2D plane right there, right? That's the 2D plane. But Earth has been created, which turned it all into 3D. So at the same time that happened, the vortex of creation, the 3D down here, was created. So the black hole comes down through there, as well as over here to the tropics. So it lays across the plane and then goes down here. That's the bend. I've mentioned in earlier videos. The kneecap, the boomerang, the boom, whatever. The Milky Way turns around this plane. Swings around the plane with the sun in it. Okay? Sun one side, night time the other. It's the clock arm. So they put Mercury and Venus in here because of the anomaly of it not showing up like, obviously, like the other planets. But I don't understand why, because it's so simple to understand the model. The moving sun. So first you've got to understand, he's got it here, so he must have the sun moving, which he does. But they don't talk about this in physics, they hide all that, and they just show you the model where the sun's at the centre and everything's moving around the sun. But if you dive deeper, you understand the sun's moving around the galactic centre, but the true model's right here. Okay, the moving sun offset from the centre will create the ellipses. What they think creates the ellipses, because they're telling you the planets go around that sun, which means it would be, you've got to understand, as the sun moves around, then it'll become closer to the planet, and then it keeps moving. Look, it's further away from the planet, so that you have the major axis and the minor axis, okay, to create their elliptic cycles, but there's no elliptic cycles. So when it comes to Venus or Mercury, look, your Venus is the morning star, the evening star, because the sun's passed by. The sun's inside, the sun is right there. That's not the sun there. The sun is there. It's on the first concentric circle, which is the horizon of the black hole. The sun is there moving around. It's got most energy. These have got reduced energy all the way out. When you drop a pebble in a pond, the wave gets bigger, but it's weaker. There's more frequency here in the lower sine wave, shorter sine wave, than out here. Nothing can pass the sun. The sun's racing around here. How can any of these planets pass it? They do not. So this is back at creation I'm talking about. So observing it is where we're deceived. And there's plenty of literature from the ancients to tell us that everything we see is deceiving us. We don't see the truth. There's the truth. So the sun's moving. So the sun's here. Look, out here you've got the morning star, Venus, coming around first before the sun turns up in the morning. Understand that? Because out here on the wider track, out here. So it becomes the morning star. But and the sun is quicker, remember? But once the sun is, passes the Venus, it becomes the evening star, where the sun goes down first, leaving Venus to be seen in the evening sky. Now it's all only because Venus and Mercury's circles are so close to the sun's cycle. They are lost in the light of the sun. always. But they're not, the thing is, they don't tell you that the back of the sun is Sagittarius A, tucked into the Milky Way. The galactic center, the galactic bulge in the center of the Milky Way is the back of the sun. So that is where Venus could be seen, but they're not showing it. I think they're trying to avoid it. So I'm going to read a little article here, NASA article, to connect these two, see what you think. And we're going to get back to the Schwarzschild radius, okay? Now, where's this article? Yesterday. Now, can't remember how I got onto this, but I think it was the motions of trying to track Venus, asking them a question: why can't we see it at the back of the Milky Way there, where they call the black hole Sagittarius A, which is at that place, that core, that galactic core bulge. So it says here, we report measurements with the very long baseline array of the proper motion of Sagittarius A relative to two extragalactic radio processes spanning 18 years. The apparent motion of Sagittarius A is minus 6.411 plus or minus 0.008 mass along the galactic plane, and minus 0 blah 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 mass a year or whatever towards the northern galactic pole. Okay, so they mention the plane and they mention the galactic pole, the North Pole. See, the Milky Way comes out of the North Pole. This apparent motion can almost entirely be attributed to the effects of the Sun's orbit about the galactic center. Why are these connected? Because the Sun is in the Milky Way. This galactic center is there. And the Sun is on its horizon, moves around it in reality. Here. The Sun's orbit around the galactic center. Removing these effects yields residuals of minus 0.58 plus or minus 2.23 kilometers a second in the direction of galactic rotation, and minus blah 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 more figure towards the northern galactic pole. A maximum likelihood analysis of the motion, both in the galactic plane and the perpendicular to it. So there's the plane and perpendicular. Like I just said, the Milky Way goes like this. Okay? Expected for a massive object within the galactic center stellar cluster indicates that the radioactive source, Sagittarius A, contains more than about 25% of the gravitational mass of a 4 times 10 to the power blah blah, deduced from stellar orbits. The intrinsic size of Sagittarius A is comparable to its Schwarzschild radius, and implied mass density of PC blah 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 is very close to the expected for a black hole, providing overwhelming evidence that it is indeed a supermassive black hole. Blah blah blah. So now we'll go to Schwarzschild radius. Schwarzschild radius, Wikipedia. See, this is not what showed up before for me. The Schwarzschild radius is a parameter in the Schwarzschild solution to Einstein's field equations that corresponds to the radius of a sphere in flat space that is the same surface area as that of the event horizon. The event horizon is the diameter, circumference, diameter, whatever, of the black hole. It's the event horizon of a Schwarzschild black hole of a given mass. It is a characteristic quantity that may be associated with any quantity of mass. The Schwarzschild radius was named after the German... No, see, they're not giving it to me. And you can't copy what shows up on the internet now. They've hidden it because they're always changing it, because there was a bullshit story, and as they're getting found out, they'll change it to suit. So before you just push copy and you'd have it all, send it to email and read it. But they can't do that now. Schwarzschild. Okay. What is the Schwarzschild radius? Oh, here we go. That's better. Pronounced my words properly, Lindsay. Schwarzschild radius is the critical radius around any mass where gravity becomes so strong that the escape velocity equals the speed of light. Speed of light. Okay? So everything comes out of the center hole of creation. Our whole realm comes out of here. And it's all based on sound. And sound creates light. So everything out of that creates the speed of light. We all resonate, vibrate at the speed of light. I would guess. That's why we appear to look as though we're physical, vibrating so fast. Equals the speed of light, forming the event horizon of a non-rotating black hole. Well, the black hole is at rest. It does not rotate. It's the action around its horizon that is doing the moving. It's the friction that creates life. And this is why the ancients tell us that Earth is from the hole, from the center hole, because Earth is fixed and stationary. Well, the center of the black hole is fixed and stationary. It's the distance from the black hole's center to where light can no longer escape. Calculated using the object's mass, gravitational constant, and the speed of light. For example, Earth's Schwarzschild radius is tiny, about 9 millimeters, while the sun's is about 3 kilometers, blah, blah, blah. Key concepts. Event horizon. Okay, so the event horizon is where the sun is. On the horizon of the black hole. Turning around the horizon of the black hole. Schwarzschild radius defines the size of the event horizon, the point of no return for a black hole. Escape velocity. If an object is compressed within its Schwarzschild radius, its escape velocity exceeds the speed of light, meaning nothing, not even light, can get out. Mass dependence. The radius is directly proportional to the mass of the object. Blah, blah, blah. Examples. Earth would need to shrink to about 9 millimeters to become a black hole. So what are they saying? Because everything shrinks back to nothingness here. We've all been expressed out. So this physicists tell us we all shrink back to nothing, to that point. So they know it's all a projected realm out of that center. Okay? So let's move along. There's a lot of notes here to work on. A lot of notes here to discuss. Visibility of Venus. Orbital constraints. Venus orbits the Sun closer than Earth. So from our perspective, it never strays far from the Sun's position in the sky. It always appears within the proximity 3 hours of sunrise or sunset, at most. It is never visible at midnight or in the middle of the night. But if you know what you're looking for, you know the whole system, you're bound to find it at that galactic bulge at night. Maybe not, maybe we cannot see it. Current position Current position, silly phone. Current position as of December 16, 2025. Venus is currently in the constellation of Ophiuchus, is nearly behind the Sun. Nearly behind the Sun. Heading for a superior conjunction, blah, blah, blah. Okay? Behind the Sun is that galactic bulge. It's in front of the Sun, it would be in the daytime, wouldn't it? Daylight. What's this? Apparent motion. The apparent motion of Sagittarius A across the sky, its proper motion is dominated by the movement of our own solar system around the galactic center. There's a clock arm that moves around the Earth. Okay? Comes out of that center, swings around the Earth. In the northern hemisphere, but it's mirrored to the south. Because it comes out of the center, it's mirrored to the south. It's mirrored in all directions. Obviously we only see half at a time, at night time. In the daytime you only see the sun itself. You don't see the Milky Way it's sitting in, swinging around from out of the center. So this is just Ketzer, Capricorn, southern hemisphere. Tropics, southern hemisphere. So it swings out of the center to the tropics. There's another image I'll explain soon. Dominated by the movement of our own solar system around the galactic center, black hole center, around this point here. When its effect is removed, the black hole's intrinsic velocity relative to the center of mass of the surrounding stellar cluster is very small. Is that what they say? It's black hole, very small, minute. Because they point to it at the Sagittarius A there, that big bulge light, which is the back of the sun. Okay? In short, while an individual looking through a typical telescope wouldn't see the movement in real time, long-term, high-precision astronomical observations have definitely measured its motion. See, the Milky Way moves... It's the Milky Way moving 3 minutes 56 a minute quicker than the background stars. Has to be, because that's where the sun is. The sun is in there, tucked in there, and that's what the sun is doing. Your whole globe theory is telling you the stars are quicker, but I've explained all that plenty of times. Let's go here first. Even medieval critics, Islam astronomers especially, objected to this, saying the equant was physically unreal, even if mathematically effective. Now we're talking about this here. We're talking about epicycles Ptolemy came up with as to why the planet, because the planet represents a planet, right? And they do a circle like this as they're moving around the Earth. So this is representing coming close to the Earth and then going back away from the Earth. So they're fixated on this elliptic cycle. And they're only being deceived because I've basically drawn it here how it works. Okay? There's no ellipses. They're all concentric circles. They do not wander off their tracks. Does not move this way or that way. It stays there. And it's all relative to the sun's position in its cycle that creates the elliptic. Okay? So all the ancients knew that it was all concentric like this, basic. Earth was at the center, because it's all about Earth. But creation comes out of the center of the Earth. So at the center of the Earth is the sun just off center. So it's neither, you can neither say it's geocentric or heliocentric. Or it's a little bit of both, you could say. Because it is based on the center of the Earth, or the Earth being center of the entire system. Bottom line, Earth is absolutely central in Ptolemy's universe. Absolutely center. Apparent off-centering comes from mathematical devices Modern diagrams often confuse geometry with cosmology. Why Ptolemy allowed this at all? Because observations forced his hand. Okay, this is where we come up with this thing. Observations forced his hand because they're being deceived, you see. Planets speed up and slow down. No, they do not. See, look, it looks close here, but then look, it's out here. And because the sun's not appears to be passing it as it comes around here, they're trying to say that the planet, this is retrograde, the planet's going that way. If the sun's racing around this way, they're saying the planet's going that way because they're fixated on a fixed sun. But it does get confusing here because Ptolemy's system has that there and it's moving. But at the end of the day, they're fudging all the words, the stories. They're avoiding the fact that the sun is moving quicker than all the other celestial bodies. Planets speed up and slow down, which they don't. Retrograde motion is not symmetric, so there is no retrograde. I've just explained it, there is no retrograde. They're all going in the one direction. Everything moves in the one direction because the sun's quicker. They make out that everything's going back this way until it gets to a certain position, and then they're all flowing together again. A perfectly Earth-centered circle doesn't match reality because it's the black hole that is the center up there, what we're looking at. And everything is offset from the center. Polaris is offset. Rather than abandon geocentrism, Ptolemy added geometrical corrections. So he's not as wise as I thought. He's just like anyone else, just like that character Galileo. They all thought he was a whiz kid, but he's just a common man. He's all deceived. He had no idea. Came up with this sun at the center. The sun is at the center of the system here, just offset, but it's all based off the center of the Earth. Now here's something I saw on YouTube, and they had this image. Basically, you might want to try and find it and check it out. It's showing my drawing of the Milky Way coming out of the center Arctic. They had it all in motion, right? Looked really good. I took a screenshot. It had nothing to do with what I'm talking about. Nothing to do with this, but they had this representing something else. Can the ball escape? Something to do with physics. Now this paper here, you've got to read this paper, so I'll put the link with the video, and it's quite good because it's showing you the motions animated 3D here. Now let's read what he's got here. Diagrams of Ptolemy's epicycles and equants really show their correct relative scale. So the whole cosmos and inner planets pages of the site show accurate animations of the system with parameters derived from the real world motions of the planets. And they've got all these links. I'll give you one here. Look, they're showing you basically the motion, what he had, and it's all false. Okay, it's based on this. So I've just drawn one planet system here on one track doing its thing, but he's got all the planets doing this system where they go out and come back in, go out and come back in. Well, look, it's gone out to the background, coming around into the foreground. There's no in and out elliptics. They just stay on track, and then the sun comes around, catches up, then it's obviously getting close to the sun, isn't it? And then the sun races ahead eventually. It's getting further away from the sun. you really need to read this link. Get onto this link and associate it with what I'm doing here. The distance to the moon's orbit was known. The Greeks estimated it to be 59.7 Earth radii. Let's back up a bit. One crucial parameter for each orbit is still undermined even after all the other numbers have been determined. How big is the orbit? And I was working on this, never got back to it actually. So if we know how long, we know that, first we start with the sun. We know how long, there's 360 degrees and the sun takes 24 hours. Now when you delve deep, you know the next planet out there, Mercury, its cycle, and Venus. And I went into that, I haven't got it, I didn't bring it into this video. So mathematically, working on this, we should be able to know how big, what was that about? The diameters of the orbits are. But they fudge it all with the globe theory because they have the sidereal cycles and they have a what's the other one? Sardonic cycle. And this is what I've forgotten about and haven't got on this video, so I'll try and put that in the next video, okay? Anyway, the Greeks could measure no planetary parallax because there is no parallax. You can't, because all holographic projections, there's no parallax. No parallax against the fixed stars, and so lacked any sense of their scale. Even so, for example, you double the size of Saturn's different, which could still make Saturn trace the right path in the sky by doubling the size of its epicycle to match. So Ptolemy suggests several restrictions that together provide a possible scale for the cosmos. The distance to the moon's orbit was known, blah blah blah. Ptolemy chose an order in which to place the planets above the moon. First he listed Mercury, Venus, and I'll have to draw that model too in the next one. Yeah. So first he listed Mercury and Venus that never stray far from the sun, then the sun itself, and then the outer planets from fastest to slowest, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn. So it's got it here, see? So he's delusional, he's got that system. Today's physics have stuck with this silly BS. It's all right there. Next, Ptolemy reasoned that the orbits must be far enough apart that the epicycles never collide. For example, Saturn's orbit must be large enough to keep its epicycle from ever overlapping with that of Jupiter. True. So you've got one, this is the different line. It's centered on there, right, as it moves around. The planet takes to circle the Earth, the center line of the epicycle. It's all wrong. There's the epicycle. So it's sort of, but the funny thing is, this system is happening on Earth. The southern hemisphere does this all the way around the center northern hemisphere. If you've seen my models, the whole southern hemisphere moves around the center north. So here is the facts basically. You're the observer here. Everything that comes out of the center black hole here, the center here of creation, has now been expressed into our created realm, which is the center, which is the tropics, the circle around the Earth, the tropics. So it comes out of here now, and so we imagine it's coming out of here, and it's a mirror from there to the south. So there's our southern hemisphere, there's the northern hemisphere half. So it comes out of the centre Arctic over to the tropical gap. And then from the tropical gap over to the empty Arctic over here. And because it's mirrored from the centre north out, they're infinite. So every man, no matter where he is around here, will get a similar image depending on the time of day as it swings around. He'll see it earlier than this guy, won't he? It's all the night sky stars are here, but he's going to see this formation here when the time moves, to move that image to there. Otherwise he's seeing stars that have come prior to this guy's observations. So they're infinite, and they spiral out of the Arctic, Antarctic. Okay? So we have to imagine it like this. So you see it comes in from the east, goes over our horizon and leaves via the west. And this whole motion moves this way. There's an overlay of the southern stars that come up like this and overlay the northern stars. But you don't see them in the tropical gap. That's under the veil. It's only when they get into the north here they start changing the constellations. But that's another detail. This is just showing you what's happening. There's your whole circle there, but at the same time it's all drifting west. It all drifts west. But if you had a camera fixed doing star trails, there's your rotation fixed there. Because you haven't moved. This is turning, but you haven't moved this way, followed it this way. So you're getting stars come in to your horizon, do their little revolution as they go out. If you're fixed. Otherwise you track this whole system all the way around. So there's another system, the circle within the circle for Ptolemy's idea. And there's basically the circle within the circle. Man's pod. Okay? The Greeks told us the globe theory fudges history, you see. The Greeks mentioned, they got a word that means pods or pods, and then only taken it to, globes used it to, they've used it for their narrative, the globe idea. So at the end of the day, man's arc of horizon, his personal hemisphere, that's where sphere is always used. It's a sphere, because there's only a hemisphere. And there's one in each hemisphere, because there's two star rotations, so you have to have two. If you're in the north, that's your hemisphere. If you're in the south, that's your hemisphere, because they're mirrored opposites. So pods was man's pod, personal pod, and even NDE, people that have come back from the near-death experiences, mention the word pod. So, and what the globe theory have done is they've used this word to as pods and representing feet, and that the southern hemisphere people are upside down with their feet opposing the northern hemisphere, which is total rubbish. No, that refers to the sun's feet, because our earthly flat earth has two sun lemmas, one for the northern hemisphere, one for the southern hemisphere, and their feet come up and touch the borderline of Capricorn and Cancer. The feet, that's represented by the Christ in the story in the Bible, Jesus washing his disciples' feet on the banks of the Jordan. But that goes very deep in spirituality, which people do not understand, but I'm telling you. And the feet opposing each other, either side of the boundary. The feet of the sun's inner lemma. The sun is Christ in the physics story, but there's the spiritual story of man. So let's go over a few things here. Aristarchus of Samos was the first to put the sun at the centre, heliocentric. Well, it's at the centre offset center of our flat earth physics. You could put it up there, the offset center here too. There is there. But we're not on a ball flying around it. But earlier, Ptolemy had the Earth geocentric at the center. He had epicycles and difference. This difference, the line it traces, and then you got these epicycles going out away from the Earth, back into the Earth. Total BS, all wrong. Ptolemy said Earth is motionless, which is right because it comes from the black hole center, and the black hole is motionless. The ancient Egyptians tell us Earth is from the hole. Remember, it's all been expressed out or inverted. It's all inside out now. We've come out of here, expressed out. Now the centre comes Earth, boom. Go right straight right back into nothingness again, and out came Earth. The same time Earth was created, the 3D here was created. That came at the same time. Otherwise, if we all went back to that plane, a 2D plane, that's it there, the ecliptic plane. There's no plane on a globe. Earth is at the center of the cosmos. Earth is at the center. Well, it is the center. There's nothing out there. It is the center. Its creation comes out of its center. 3. All celestial motions are referenced to Earth. Reference to Earth, well, it's got a duality too. You know, it's all about Earth, but you've got to realise you've got to reference the sun, the moving sun. The celestial bodies in reference to the moving sun, which is not what they're doing. Is equance and difference. This system here, okay? So the tropical year movement for the sun's declination, moving in and out. It's the southern hemisphere overlaying and coming and going, moving in and out. That's the tropical year. You're not flying around the sun like they tell you. No. The stars are moving up and in as they move around the galactic center. All the starry skies moving like this because it's all to do with the S-curve vortex. There's an S-curve inside the center vortex. That S-curve, as it's turning, is casting out the curving field of stars around our Earth. Here I've drawn the Milky Way. Comes out of the Arctic center, swings around like this from the east, comes from the east, and keeps moving all the way around if you're in a fixed position. Otherwise it's drifting all the way around the Earth as the center turns. Center turns. And there's the, you can say there's the northern hemisphere coming from the east. Look, round from the east coming around this way. Like this. Or you call it day for one hemisphere, night for the other. Positive, negative. So you've got to look at it. This center here is the center of the tropics, expressed out from there. So it's all expressed out from here. So what we see at night is from this image here. I've been saying a lot of my earlier videos that the nighttime image was from here, heavenly. Look up. But no, because we're in our created realm where there's light, it's once again expressing what's hidden in here. Because all the energy is being created in here. So that represents the Milky Way, and the Milky Way curves over, or curves over this way. That's why we see it curving. that's what they call it. That is the rakia. It's the firmament. The firmament is because there's the south pole, creating the firm magnetic repulsion. Okay? Even though at this point is actually convergence of the magnetic field, there's two poles here, a repulsion which creates the firmament. It's the Milky Way. You'd have to see a lot of my earlier videos to understand all that. The rakia, the Milky Way, is the firmament. It's not a dome over the earth. There's nothing physical over the earth. Our magnetic field comes from the earth itself. It's the ring magnet. It's the flux. Nothing's coming from out. It comes from within. Magnetic flux. What happens with the magnetic flux as you go up? It reduces pressure. The highest density is at the earth sea level. It reduces on pressure. It's a no-brainer, but all these shill flat earthers keep saying, oh, you can't, a vacuum has to be contained and all this garbage. No, it comes off the ring magnet. Earth's like a ring magnet. There's the tropical boundary between the centre north and the south all the way around here, the north and here. But they're both actually north poles, there and there. South is at the centre line here, the tropical gap. In between there and there, otherwise, if they could merge, why wouldn't it all just be a monopole? It would find equilibrium and cease to exist. A monopole is the black hole. There's nothing going on. There's got to be the friction between the south and the north pole at all times. And in our earthly system, it's dual. You've got a north, south, north, south. North is right there. Right, the centre there is the Milky Way entering. Picture that. Okay, so this is all wrong. Wrong. Shame on him. I had faith in this guy, but no. So we've got to put the black hole here, sun on its horizon. Then we've got Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn. Okay. We've got the 3D vortex, secondary to the ecliptic plane. Just there. Infinite mirror images out in the south around the southern hemisphere. There's a lot more to go into this video, so this is part one. Okay, this is just a taste. I've got to go a lot deeper because I haven't really proven anything at this stage, have I? No. So we'll leave it at that because it'll take a while to upload onto YouTube. So thanks for watching, but follow me. Cheers.